Hey everyone, Sparks back with another Goddess of Victory Nikke video, and it is time for a crown review. And now that Naga is no longer bugged, I can show you just how OP Crown can be. I'm sure you all know she's good already, but I want to explain exactly why she's so strong and show you some different things that you can do with her. I'll talk about several alternative teams and what might work for different modes such as raids, but also do a skill review, PvP testing, and go over gear and queues. Everything like I normally do. Okay, so Crown is a Burst 2 Pilgrim Defender Iron Code with an MG. She has a unique ability that auto-targets some enemies that can normally not be targeted, but this is super niche, and honestly, you can kind of just ignore that. Her skill 1 activates at the start of full burst and affects all units that use their burst skill and increases attack by 64% of her attack and increases reload speed by 44% for 15 seconds. For any units that did not burst, they get the same reload speed buff, but a 37% defense buff instead of attack. The reload speed can make some pretty silly things possible when combined with other reload buffs. All of her skills are very strong, but this might be her lowest priority for leveling. The attack buff being only base attack on a defender isn't ideal, but it does buff all allies, so this is still really good. This is just her least amazing, I guess you could say. Her skill 2 activates after 43 normal attacks, which will go off really quickly with her machine gun as long as you aren't dropping frames. It affects herself and increases HP potency / healing effectiveness by 4% and can stack 20 times. Once hitting the max stacks, they will automatically clear and she will become invincible for 5 seconds while also taunting all enemies. She also recovers 5% of her final max HP, and whenever she is healed, the entire squad gets attack damage up 20% for 7 seconds. This skill is cracked. It makes her extremely hard to kill and takes the heat off your other units temporarily, but most importantly can give everyone a massive damage buff for the entire battle with the help of a healer. Attack damage is at the end of the damage formula, so this is extremely impactful. The worst thing about this skill is that on her own the attack buff does have a considerable downtime, but with the help of a healer like Naga or Rapunzel, this can be close to or even 100% uptime. Now, if you're liking this video, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It will really help me out. Okay, so her burst has a 20-second cooldown, which is great. It gives you a lot of flexibility. However, we will usually be pairing her with another burst 2 or a second burst 1, even though traditionally you would want 3 burst 3s in most squads. It increases all allies' attack damage by 36% for 15 seconds, and this gives everyone a shield equal to 10% of her final max HP for 15 seconds as well. This is again a giant damage buff. 36% attack damage is extremely good, and it gives it to all allies. There is no condition for this either, and 15 seconds is a long time. If you compare this to other buffers like Leader, whose buff is 5 seconds, or Blanc, who affects damage for 10 seconds, this is peak. The shield is not to be underestimated either. I think a lot of people don't give this the credit it deserves just because her offense buffs are so good it kind of gets ignored. But shields have always been useful in Nikke for blocking large one-hit attacks and just generally increasing survivability. This is for your whole team, and being based off of her final max HP is also peak. Get all of her skills to level 10, she is worth the investment. Okay, so for gear, overload lines matter very little. You probably had more than enough defender gear for her anyway, but if you don't yet, don't feel too bad. Increasing her max HP is a benefit from maxing out her equipment, but that's about it. As far as the actual bonus effect lines go, elemental damage is probably the best. Actual attack isn't that great because her base attack isn't that high anyway, so even at a high percentage increase, the absolute number won't be that big. And it doesn't help her skill buffs anyway. Max ammo is probably the second most important thing to go for, but since she can reload insanely fast, even this isn't super important. Hit rate is decent for MGs. Anything else really doesn't matter much at all. I mean, so really just don't stress too much on her gear. I should also note that multiple copies for limit breaks and cores don't matter as much as I expected, so in general, she's actually very friendly to free-to-play players. The Resilience Cube is definitely the best in slot. Lean into that crazy fast reload speed. Otherwise, Bastion Cube is also quite good, and if you do combine it with max ammo lines, it will always be very effective with machine gun users. Below those two, you could consider Wingman or Assault. They're going to be a significant drop-off, but, you know, use whatever you got. Okay, let's talk teams. There are a lot of squads she works well on. Her buffs are pretty universal, and although she can definitely shine more with some squad mates than others, she will always be good. She's an S-tier support that can be thrown onto just about any squad and work well. The quote-unquote best squad will depend on what game modes you are doing. So a great all-rounder that can work for most situations is Crown, Leader, Red Hood, Maxwell, and Modernia. In fact, this was the strongest, highest damage squad I found in my original testing video. However, this was before a bug fix that just happened and is also really not fully leveraging Crown's skill 2 due to not having a primary healer. You can look at specific damage numbers in my comparison in my testing video, link to that in the description below. But another team that was almost as high of damage and much less of a glass cannon swaps either Maxwell or Modernia for Rapunzel. This is another squad that can work pretty much in any situation, be it interception, campaign, or raid. In fact, I think solo raid, Crown, Leader, Red Hood, Maxwell, and Rapunzel might be a common team for many players to use with Crown, considering the other units it frees up to form your other 4 squads. Of course, every raid is different, and the need for healing, specific damage types, etc. can be highly specific. By the way, for all these squads that I'm talking about, put Crown in the first slot to the far left. This is what you want to do for almost any defender or any unit you want to get healed most frequently because of the way enemy targeting works and how skills resolve in nikke. Another potentially really useful solo raid team I found is Crown, Double D, Snow White, Rapunzel, and Maxwell. You could also use Volume instead of Double D, depending on what you have or what your other squads look like. Crown benefits Snow White a lot, and Rapunzel was already a frequent teammate for Snow White in the 5th raid squad. So the 3 of them match up perfectly. Maxwell is also an easy fit that has always worked well with Snow White too. So this is a really great team that you can use as one of your like 4th or 5th teams for raids. I'll take any excuse to use Snow White, but I would seriously keep this one in mind. Of course, you know, tweak things as needed for the individual raid. A 3rd raid team that can work well is a new variation of the Quick Reload squad. This can also potentially be pretty strong in campaign, and it's going to be with Dorothy, Alice, Black Shadow, and Privet. However, Alice and Black Shadow might just stay with the schoolgirls. In that case, use Summer, Anise, and Marshana for more of those heal triggers off of Crown skill 2. When her reload buff, Crown's reload buff, is combined with Privity's reloading buff, reloading is basically meaningless. It's dummy fast to the point you almost don't even see it. Sort of a dark horse pick you can throw in depending on the boss you're fighting is Winterlude Milla. Don't forget she also has a quick reload mechanic as well. Now for campaign, the main tribe tower, or the main tribe tower, you have probably the new single strongest team in the game with Crown, Leader, Red Hood, Modernia, and Naga. You've probably seen this all over the internet. Crown is filling Tia's role here, but is just better at it. And since they fixed the bug with Naga that previously made her heal the unit with the lowest max HP instead of the correct target, which is the unit with the lowest HP percentage, Crown will give the skill to attack buff 100% continuously for the whole battle. Rapunzel can also accomplish this, but Naga also gives very strong offensive buffs, so is just an extremely potent combo. This squad rips. Like I said, with raids, you want to just use the schoolgirls together, but for single squad modes, With mobs of enemies, this is where it's at. Okay, so Crown is top 3 burst 2 unit for sure, and in a lot of cases, the best burst 2 unit in the game, period. Blanc and Naga being the other 2 in that conversation. Rem is also great too, actually. And I'm sure you know Crown is the new gold standard for Pilgrim Tower 2. However, there is one mode where her burst 2 Pilgrim rivals actually surpass her. And that is Arena. I know, nobody cares about Arena, but I have to at least touch on it. Crown is okay in Arena, but her burst gen is pretty poor, and matches usually are so fast that her attack damage buffs don't really have much time to compound anyway. In this case, Nihilister is actually better with her very strong burst gen and high immediate AoE damage. And of course, Noah is still a staple in Arena, and you know, not likely to be overthrown anytime soon. Okay, so that is our queen, or as she might say, king. I'm going to end this video on a mold, but let me know, you know, what kind of things you've been cooking up. Have you cooked up any spicy Crown things that I didn't mention, or do you have any questions? All right, mid-quality mold. Sakura, okay, she's nothing really to get excited about nowadays, but from a mid-quality mold, that's still a W. Subscribe to help me reach 4K, and I'll see you guys on stream. Sheesh.